Welcome to this video on ego defense mechanisms in film. I'm William Indick, author of Psychology for Screenwriters, now in its second edition. Defense mechanisms defend the ego by relieving it of the pressure of neurotic conflict in a variety of ingenious ways. In ordinary people, all of the characters are in denial, especially Beth, the mother, who is in denial of her own inability to express affection and love to her affection-starved son, Conrad. In this scene, Beth's inability to even stand next to her son for more than a half a minute is apparent to everyone except her.
Connie, smile.
Calvin.
Just a second, smile.
Calvin, give me the camera.
No, I didn't get it yet, Beth.
Come on, give me the camera.
Give me the camera. I want a really good picture of the two of you, okay?
No, but I really want to get a shot of the three of you men. Give me the camera, Calvin.
Not until I get a picture of the two of you.
Cal.
Hang on a second.
Give me the goddamn camera!
It's Beth's denial of her own inability to accept and love her son that makes her character so frustrating, but also so intriguing. She's a mystery to everybody, including herself.
Smile. Who's hungry? I'll make the sandwiches. I'll tell you.
Along with denial, repression is the most basic of the defense mechanisms. In The Remains of the Day, a stodgy British butler, Stevens, represses his lust for Miss Kenton throughout the entire film. In Ordinary People, Beth is so repressed and so in denial of her feelings that she must ultimately leave her own home rather than express love to her husband or her son. She is a victim of her own repression. Sublimation is the channeling of a sexual or repressed aggressive drive into some type of productive behavior. In American Beauty, Carolyn channels her repressed sexual and aggressive energy into cleaning and preparing a house that she's determined to sell.
Welcome.
At the same time, Carolyn's husband Lester is sublimating his repressed sexual and aggressive energy into building his body so he can seduce his teenage daughter's best friend. Regression is when somebody releases libido energy by acting in a way that's much younger than appropriate for their age. In American Beauty, Lester's character moves forward, ironically, as his behaviors regress to earlier and earlier ages. Though he's a middle-aged father, Lester harbors fantasies and acts upon those fantasies of seducing his teenage daughter's best friend. He starts smoking weed with his teenage daughter's boyfriend, who is also his weed dealer. He quits his corporate job and takes a job more appropriate for a teenager. And in general, by releasing his libido, by acting as a younger and increasingly younger character, Lester gets more in touch with his inner child, and thus frees himself from the burdens of adult responsibility. Displacement is when we direct feelings of hostility onto substitute outlets instead of the people we're really angry at, such as in American Beauty, when Lester tells his daughter, "You're becoming a real bitch just like your mother." He didn't mean to hurt his daughter, but he did, by acting towards her in the way he wishes he could act towards his wife. Reaction formation occurs when we're in such deep denial about a fact about ourselves that rather than accepting it, we react against it, such as the character Frank Fitz in American Beauty. the gay-bashing homophobic who, of course, turns out to be gay himself. By identifying with others, we find direction and inspiration for our own identities. In American Beauty, Lester begins to identify with a teenage boy. Although he's half his age, Lester learns a lot from young Ricky, and he becomes his mentor. Sometimes identification characters are negative. For instance, in the movie 13, Tracy's new friend Evie is indeed a negative identification figure. She's a bad influence and leads Tracy down a road of self-harm and dangerous behavior. Rationalization is when we discuss our feelings in intellectual terms rather than feeling them emotionally. Woody Allen and the characters in his films are often rationalizing their behaviors and their emotions rather than just feeling them out. The last defense mechanism I'll cover is projection. In The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, 3 gold prospectors go to work in the Mexican hills. As they proceed, Humphrey Bogart begins to feel that his partners are stealing his share of the gold. Of course, this is untrue. Humphrey Bogart's character is merely projecting his own paranoid fears onto his friends. If only he was aware that he was projecting his feelings onto his friends, this character would not be so tragic, and his destiny would not be so doomed. And so it is with many film characters. Though they have external obstacles to overcome, in the end, it's usually their own inner obstacles, their own inability to see their own unconscious defense mechanisms, their own inability to realize that they might be in denial of an important truth, or that they might be repressing important feelings, or projecting feelings about themselves onto other people. More often than not, it's these inner obstacles that lead to the destruction and fall of the character, or an inner revelation that leads to their victory. I hope you enjoyed this brief video on defense mechanisms. If you want to learn about the other Freudian defense mechanisms and how they can be applied to characters in film, please read my book, Psychology for Screenwriters, now in the 2nd edition. These are the films referenced in this video. And don't forget to check out my book, Psychology for Screenwriters, now in its 2nd edition, as well as my other books on psychology and film, and my book on the psychology of fantasy, or my more recent books on media psychology. I hope you enjoy these episodes on the application of the science of psychology to the art of screenwriting.